Tucker Ashcraft, Gavin Gress, Ben Terrell, Jackson Odom, Baylor Party, Corbin Butts, Jaden Reese, Eli Harris, Easton Buchanan, and Luke Childers. Thanks for putting me on the spot right there.
Yeah. That's great, Coach. We do appreciate the way you represent our city and our school with big class leadership. And I'll actually open up to the any other commissioners here sitting here today that like to make any comments.
I'm curious, I see the players all with the same hair color. Why did the coaches choose to not dye their hair?
It's a player-led thing. Player-led thing right there.
We tried. I just want to say congratulations. I've been there where you guys have been, and it's a great opportunity, and hopefully you'll make it back next year and year after. But congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I'll say the same thing, guys. I followed y'all all year. I'm not able to make it to see anything. Jim Norton keeps me updated with a regular group of chatting on text messages and stuff, and just couldn't be more proud of the way y'all represented. So, yeah, thank you for y'all's accomplishment and everybody that's giving them a big hand.
Yes. Last minute, but these guys probably don't mind missing a little class, and so sorry I couldn't keep you any longer, but we'll dismiss you, and everybody once again give another round of applause.
All right, boys, let's get out of here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
See you later, Mr. John.
Next year, guys. Yes, sir. That's good work.
See y'all back here next year.
You still good to do. And really, and while I'm on school recognition, our Odyssey of Mind team this year once again went to the World, I would say World Championship. They're represented, and their coach, host, what have you, I'm not sure, is Commissioner Hoffman's wife, Sharon Hoffman. So they've done a great job too, and we not only produce really good athletes, but a lot of good academics also. So, all right, we got the sound fixed. So our first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which are the minutes of our first meeting in May 6th. So there are no additions, corrections, deletions to those. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Commissioner Hoffman made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Lowry. Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed 4-0. All right, next item is the planning board recommendation, which is a plat approval request for Windmark JV LLC, Phase 3, East Unit 1. And Jim, you want to give us some info on that a little more?
Yes, sir. This is actually part of your original DRI for 1,552 units under the Windmark DRI. This went before the planning board at the last meeting in there for consideration for the plat approval on this. This is a reduced amount from the initial development order that was given for East Side. section, which is off of Discovery Lane. The initial development order was for 262 units in this east side development area. Today, I believe it's 103 lots. I believe we got representation here today for 103 lots, I believe, that they're asking for today to move forward.
Okay, and their recommendation was,
Was unanimous favorable to approve, yes.
okay, all right, everybody hear that? I'll entertain a motion to approve the planning board recommendation.
So moved.
Commissioner Hoffman made a motion, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Kerrigan.
Discussion real quick.
Yeah, I'm opening for discussion now, we got a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Jim, what was the reason why they produced the?
They didn't give one. I'm assuming they're probably just looking at market conditions probably, but I'm just speculating at this point.
So, okay, anybody else discussion for the board? Anybody in the audience? All in favor, aye? Opposed, sign, all in favor, aye, opposed, no. Motion passed 4-0. Get tongue tied this morning. All right, let's see, Mr. Baxley, do we have, anybody here with, Newberry City Engineer?
Yes, Josh is out this week on vacation, but I believe they do this.
Okay, guys, if you would, sign in and, then state your name for the record.
Josh Stevens with Dewberry.
Dino Galano from Dewberry. How you doing? I guess we were here for the Windmark plat approval.
Actually, he's out, so we don't have a status report. I believe he caught up with Jim before he left and sent in the weekly status report.
Okay.
Unless you guys have something in particular,
No, he normally just presents us with what's going on and how it's coming along, and on the agenda, paving quantities update, which, we had some quantities, left over on our paving projects, and, they were gonna let us know how much that would actually pave, so you guys are good, sorry, I thought.
oh, no problem.
Yeah. And Jim can update us on that.
Mayor, we did reach out to the contractor to find out they're still working on those numbers, so we're waiting to hear back. Yes,
Still
we'll reach out. We're waiting for that. And they need to come back and to finish up some of the roads around town. So wait on that final date for them to come back and do the top coat on many of our roads and to give us that quantity.
And I was just texting Mr. Anderson, 2 weeks, he'll be back.
2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks.
Okay, all right, thank you guys, appreciate it. While we're on engineering, Miss Elizabeth from Anchor is here. She gave us a handout on progress of their project, so
Yes.
turn it over to you.
Good morning. Just briefly, we have two projects that we're currently managing for the city. The CDBG DR lift station and force main project. You've probably seen them working on DuPont. That's probably the most visible one. They are, I'd say about 95% complete with the force main portion, the piping of the project. They're about 20% complete with the lift stations. They have until October of this year to be substantially complete. They ran into a little bit of trouble with Duke Energy as far as moving the power poles. They asked to have those be moved about 2 months ago. They're out there now, so I think that the project's still gonna finish on time, but that is pushing back their original schedule just a little bit. But they're working with Mediacom and Duke right now, and we're staying on them just to make sure that they stay on time. They're supposed to present us a new schedule next week. two of the three wet wells are actually on the ground, or sorry, one of the three wet wells is on the ground, the other one's supposed to be delivered next month. But things are going well, other than the few little hiccups these projects tend to have, everything's going. And then your collection system rehab and replacement project, the bids are due 6/13. And currently we have 26 people on the plan list. So obviously not all of those are contractors. There's probably about 8 to 10 that could actually go on the project that's on the list, but still a lot of interest in the project. Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get a good low bid out of it.
But I told you, for it, so we'll see. Y'all have any questions on here?
Okay, thank you.
And I just provided y'all just one of our most recent inspection reports, just so y'all can see what we produce. We produce about 2 to 3 of those a week for the inspection project, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right, city attorney.
Yeah, I don't have anything specific on the agenda, but there was one thing I wanted to mention, and that is that the chief has done a lot of good work and research on the issues that we discussed at the last meeting regarding our Reed Avenue, the head shops and that stuff. I hope to have it all put together to be able to present at our next meeting.
Great, great. That should go forward. Get us out of hand.
Thank you. And that's all.
Okay, there. All righty. And, next item is old business, which is, page 10, which lists our current city projects. Anybody got any questions about that?
Jim, I know you mentioned to me this morning about the water lines downtown. Yeah, can you touch on that?
We are finally coming to the end of the downtown water line project. They are officially starting the tie-ins. They started yesterday. So we're getting folks out into that new line. So the lines are put in place. We're working on the tie-ins and they're open. That's going to make a tremendous impact.
On time?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Quick question, Chief. In regards to the cameras and stuff that we could put in the past, where are we at with that?
They should be here this week to start installing cameras. We had a little issue with me not knowing what I was doing with electricity. All the places that we had planned to put cameras, the electricity was there, but it was either on timer or photo cell. So in the daytime, the cameras would cut off. So we had to get an electrician to open those lines up and put a circuit in that was live all the time. So,
So that's already been done.
yes, and that delayed it quite a bit to get an electrician in there to do that. But I believe they'll be here tomorrow through the end of the week to try to get that installed.
Once it's installed, how quickly is it out? Instant,
Yeah, before they leave, it'll be good to go.
just thinking ahead of 20,000 people coming in to the
Exactly.
city this weekend. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Next item, we're under new business, pet memorial. Miss Lisa Harris here, representing the Garden Club, and you'd like to come forward and your assistant, please sign in. You already did, good, thank you. You have the floor.
Well, I'm Lisa Hare with the Garden Club, representing the Garden. This is Phyllis Goff, also representing the Garden Club. And we had a new project that we'd like to propose to the city after Hurricane Helene, particularly up in the Tennessee area. And we have these for you all. We used to live up there. They had a pet memorial bridge that is well received, and it's out at Lake Lure. So we were asking for permission to start one here in Port St. Joe, because we are a very pet-friendly community. And I think you have some other
We've got that.
that we are asking for, to use one of the metal bridges between 20th and 16th to do the collars, so that they would be available. A plaque would be on the bridge to identify it. And it would be basically a maintenance-free project once it's put together. But we would like to do that.
Cost-free as well, which is really nice. We do want to do this in conjunction with the city. Both sponsor the bridge. Commissioner Kerrigan has come up with a little plaque that could go on either end stating just that with a date. We aren't planning on any horticulture situation around either end, although that could follow at a later date, but it would certainly be something that would be maintenance-free, completely maintenance-free. But I think because Port St. Joe is well known for its friendliness to pets, the beaches are pet friendly. We all have pets, and when your pet passes on, there are so few ways that you can memorialize the relationship you had, and this would be just one way that people could come and remember their pet, cat, dog, whatever, as long as it had a collar. And it would be there for some time to come. It is possible after 3-4 years that some of the material in collars can degrade. So it might be a half an hour chore for someone to go out and clip off what is turned into unrecognizable things on the bridge. But other than that, we don't see a downside to this in any way. I think the people of Port St. Joe would welcome it. If approved, gentlemen, we would like to have a ribbon cutting and a newspaper coverage with a star so that the entire town will know.
Okay. Questions? So the idea is to put a deceased or pet collar hanging on the bridge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I don't know. This first that I've basically seen what you're proposing. And for me, I think I would like to maybe somewhat canvass the neighborhood to see how they feel about that, because looking at this picture,
It could be a lot.
it gets pretty busy, I guess you could say.
We
So,
won't have it painted though, because of their bridges are wood and ours are metal.
Right.
So,
yeah, got it, yeah, follow you there, but, anyway, I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but that's just my feelings.
That's a reasonable approach, Mr. Mayor. I certainly think that would be an appropriate move.
Yeah.
I personally think it's a great idea. It's a place where you can go back and remember your pet and whatnot. We're a smaller town, and that's a lot of collars on there, and I'm not positive we'll have that many on our bridge, but I don't think you're gonna get a lot of, strike from any local people.
There's no negative impact for anyone that supports the bridge idea or opposes it. You oppose it, don't go put a collar on it.
Exactly.
Find something else to get busy with. So, I'm not gonna be doing any canvassing, because I think it's a very simple request. I'm just waiting on the time to make the motion to approve it.
Okay. Got comments?
I'm glad, that picture makes it look overwhelming, but
That's up at Lakewood.
Before I sit down, I want to hand you gentlemen an invitation. On June the 5th, we will be celebrating the 100th anniversary of our building on 8th Street,
That's great.
and we would like to invite you all to come if you can. We will have an ad in the Star this Thursday that will invite the whole city. So we hope to have a good-sized celebration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Waiting Commissioner Hoffman's motion.
Motion to approve the request for the allowing a pet memorial bridge.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Carey. Any more discussion from the board? Okay, audience, please come up, sign in, state your name.
John Martin, Woodward. I think it's a great idea. Two things you need to look at. As an engineer, you need to look, you're gonna change the wind load on it. Depending on how many are put on, the wind load dynamics on the bridge are gonna change. And as trivial as it sounds, you're gonna change the weight load. So you just probably need to get whoever built it to take a look at it and be certain that those two things are covered. Because if you put a bunch of stuff on it, I have no idea how many is gonna be put. I'm just saying, if this thing grows and you have a lot on there, you're gonna have to consider load and especially wind load in our area.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 4-0. All right. We've got, the sheriff here too, don't we, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Sheriff Harrison, this will be under new business. If you'd like to come up and make a presentation for us. And, sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
I told Mr. Anderson yesterday, the wheels of justice are slow. The wheels of construction and engineering are even slower. So June the 4th, I came here last year requesting a alley abandonment. And since then, we've ran into a lot of obstacles, stormwater and everything. We finally reached to the point where we're going to be able to work through that, I hope, and back to the point of the alley abandonment. Again, what we're doing is requesting directly behind the sheriff's office to cut the alley off there, to reroute it to go down to 6th Street. Still allows ingress and egress to the businesses there. I think it's a good compromise on that and allows us to secure our business up. But along the process, we with engineering, we looked there, and for some reason that one area there, the one parcel that is the parking lot to the, if you will, the north of our building there, and that entire back lot is zoned as residential. You all know that over 20 years it's been a bank. And of that residential lot, for some reason, you know, there's 2 parking lots and a retention pond on a very little space there. So I know, and speaking to Mr. Anderson, he suggested that we're going to have to change that. I wish we didn't have to change it. I wish we could move forward. I don't mind following the rules, but you know, I'm very limited in my funds in this project here, and that's another potentially $4,000 that's going to be coming out of it. So whatever consideration that y'all can give in that process of rezoning, and you know, I would appreciate it. Again, you know, I consider myself and your sheriff, and I think you couldn't find another sheriff and chief that work as well as me and the chief do, and our training and sharing assets and backing each other up, and we work great. And of course, we do the dispatching for y'all as y'all pay us on that contract, and we appreciate that. But whatever consideration y'all can give in this process, I would appreciate it. I know there's going to be some fees associated with it. Whatever y'all can do to help with us. Again, limited funds here. I'm trying to get more state appropriation to be able to complete it out. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Tallahassee doesn't know what they're doing today, so I don't know if we'll be getting those funds or not, but with limited funds, I appreciate whatever consideration.
Okay, any questions? Jim, I talked to Chief a year ago, maybe more than a year ago, and since then, I liked it. I told you then, I liked it. It looked like EMTs, it was not gonna affect the existing businesses. So I like it, but what can we do to expedite the process?
What we got is, the process has actually got several little steps we have to do in there. The first being, he's got his letter there now to vacate the alley from the Board of County Commissioners, so we have that. Also too, the front piece of the property, being a bank, it was on commercial, the back piece was on residential. So we'll have to do a small scale plan amendment, so they'll have to be done by ordinance. So we need to create an ordinance for that, and talking with the sheriff yesterday, my suggestion would be public. Normally, government units, schools, churches, we're also on public, and it'll cover all this things. So more likely, probably looking at a small scale plan amendment to change it from a commercial piece and an R2B piece to public as an ordinance on there. You'll have to do your alley abandonment, it'll have to be a resolution. So there's several different steps that they take place before he actually comes and gets his, development order and his building permit. So this one has 2 extra steps in it, nothing we can't handle, and, he's got the process started here, so we'll get to work.
So if you and the, can get together between now and get something maybe by, agenda for next meeting, can we do it that quick?
Well, the notice for the abandonment of the alley.
It's got to go to planning board first. We'll lay out a full schedule for you, but it's probably a 45 to 60 day process. Because it has to go to planning board, you have to advertise in the newspaper, create an ordinance, create a resolution.
Okay.
Send out notices to the property owner.
So the balls.
The wheels of government are a little slow.
On this letter from the county.
Yeah. Okay.
We got it.
Okay. Okay. Whatever y'all can do. Thanks for that process. We're still under discussion.
Yes, sir.
I heard the sheriff mention $4,000 fee. What is that? What is costing $4,000?
That was engineering to do the, small scale, or actually, I think it had said large scale on that, but if we can go with a large scale, I think that would be less.
It's actually,
That's the engineering fees plus $500 permit, correct?
yes, sir. As far as the city is, that should be under a small scale. The bulk of the cost for the city is going to be advertising. The newspaper is not cheap to run these ads in the newspaper, so you'll have to run ads for your small scale plan amendment, and then you have to do one for the alley abandonment. And that's really, to wish the board, we can work with the building department on those, and that's all really the bulk of the cost is I think it's gonna be about $500 for the city for the ad.
Be in support of it and support the idea that the city be prepared to waive the city fees.
Thank you.
I don't think we can waive, I think you have engineering in there.
Okay.
That's all.
Oracle.
Okay. All right. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Jeremy Novak, Gulf County Attorney. I appreciate the opportunity to sign in. A couple issues. First, with the sheriff coming up, I think I heard you, Mayor, say you did receive the letter from Mr. Hammonds. On particular issue of the alleyway abandonment, the county sent a letter there. So if there's anything else you all need with that. The second issue, the county commission asked me to leave that meeting, come to this one. Last month, I came and I presented a letter to you from Chairman Quinn on behalf of the county commission with regards to the DRI, Windmark, Back Beach Road. And I just wanted to follow up further a request to see if there's any consensus of the board, or is there any response that I can carry back to the county commission with regards to the request that they had submitted in that letter.
We're not.
Are you talking about based on the Back Beach?
That's right. Just to boil it down, it's the enforcement of the permitting. So I think the city just approved another 600 to start the development in Windmark. And so it's been an issue with the county commission for several months now, asking about what's being done.
It's 100, by the way.
It's 100?
Yeah.
That's okay.
103.
So they submitted the letter of what they had worked up in terms of the actual 50% on the DRI and the traffic concurrency going back to 2004. So we had the 21-year-old interlocal, the DRI, the city and the county ordinances. And so what they asked in the letter is if the city can indicate a vote of the board is if they're going to start enforcing it as you approach that 50%. So I think, I don't know if it's a year off or 2 years off, but you're going to approach that 50% rule at some point. And whether the city's going to start with limiting the permitting fee issued until that phase 2 of the Back Beach Road, Gulf to Bay, behind the beaches is going to be commenced and funded and presumably under the 5-year plan with DOT.
My understanding, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, that the St. Joe Company disagreed with what was presented to us.
Yes, sir, we got a response back. Yeah, we got a response back from St. Joe that I believe is true and accurate back from the St. Joe.
You need a copy.
I've seen that other thing.
So I guess that's where we are.
Okay, and respectfully, Mayor, that I understand Ms. Catherine's position in St. Joe issuing that letter. I'm asking on behalf of the city commission, what is the position of the city? Is there going to be a formal action in response? Is there going to be a written response? We understand St. Joe's letter. We've read that. We've gone through it. Obviously, we have some issues with it, but we're just asking, is there a response from the city commission to the county with regards to the questions they had asked in it?
Well, actually, since we got the letter, I thought that pretty much ended it, and so I haven't even thought about it anymore, about our position. It hadn't been brought up. We hadn't discussed it. So I guess we can get with our attorney and discuss with him, and then possibly, if we feel necessary, have it on the agenda our next meeting and make a decision at that.
That would be incredibly helpful, Mayor, and I appreciate that. The reason I say that in the meeting today, I don't want to quote any of the commissioners or the staff, the administrator. They want some indication from the city of what enforcement is going to be done. And then if that's the letter from St. Joe, if the city's position is to follow and align with that, then obviously they're out of balance with the county. The ordinances for the city and the county, as well as the DRI and the state regulations that were adopted 21 years ago, indicate clearly there has to be obviously an analysis done, the study, there has to be concurrency plans. If they're not, and the city doesn't align with obviously the county and the enforcement issuance of permits, then the county commission has to respond to that. And even this morning, they indicated that is necessary. And again, the last thing I want to mention to you at this podium is litigation, but if there's an enforcement or declaratory action or an injunction that's sought by the county, there is an abundance of public response the county commissioners have received with regards to their increasing traffic, the inability to access from the county line into the city of Port St. Joe, and obviously that being a major cog in that transportation and corridor. The county commissioners have repeatedly brought up at each of these meetings of some indication from the city whether or not you're going to limit the issuance of those permits in Windmark. Obviously, that's going to grow the volume of traffic on that one-lane road for the better part of 7 or 8 miles. So if you can, I do appreciate you indicating you're going to come back next month. I'll come back at that time. Hopefully you have some not St. Joe's response, but a city response I can carry back to the county. Like I said, it's a 2 to 3 year plan out, but obviously that's the process that needs to start now. It probably should have started a few years ago, but if the city can indicate to the county or give some form of response, that'll give the county commissioners an ability to at least continue the dialogue.
David?
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Jim and I had a conversation this morning about it, and I did ask him to put it on the agenda for next meeting. Because I mean, the traffic's not gonna go away. I mean, we're fixing to see it this weekend, but, Jeremy, would the county assist the city and work together on applying for that funding through,
Yeah,
DOT?
Commissioner. In the letter from Chairman Quinn, it specifically stated that they had dialogue at that meeting last month where they said, this is a cooperative effort. They want the city and county to work together to go out and get this and motivate the DOT and meet with the secretary and get with St. Joe and everyone work in cooperation. They know it's not going to happen today, tomorrow, or even in the next year, but your 5-year plan needs to be started now. The funding needs to, obviously the DOT needs to start appropriating that 3-year plan for the funding, just so that these plans are in place. Because as the city approaches this threshold of 50%, whether you align with St. Joe's position or not, if it's going to be an issue that's contested, then it's gonna be litigated. And so instead of going through the courts, like we are right now on other issues, to have an open dialogue, to communicate, talk about what needs to be done between the county and the city, ideally go to the DOT, ideally pursue these funding, and make sure that these plans are in place. And the county commission's already expressed in their meetings, they do not want to stand in the way, but they also want to address the public absolute need for the expansion of this transportation. So if the plans are in place, the funding's in place, the city and the county are cooperating in that direction, and they know that it is a 5-year plan, then there's really no need to argue it or contest it. But it's a multi-year plan that's well behind. And if the county now knows that the city's not going to be restricting those permitting, then that's an issue that's going to have to be resolved before you approach that 50% threshold.
And frankly, Jeremy, you know, I mean, St. Joe Company got to be involved in this whole.
100%.
And discussions. So-
100%.
So
And
just
they
wanna
carry a
make sure
big opinion.
everybody's aware, it's just not us in the county.
Absolutely.
They own the property. You know, that's the way it is.
And the letter from Catherine Planner, like I said, it's all come from this dialogue the last few months. I think that letter is helpful. It gives one piece of the puzzle. But I think that dialogue has to happen in a response from the city, so we at least can continue it. If there's no response to that letter from the chairman, then they're left to limited options as to what to do as we approach that 24 months in the future.
Sounds good.
I can tell you, I'm definitely on board on trying to start the process of business road.
Back between back, we'll call it back.
Yeah. So,
I just had a couple of things. Thanks for coming, because I had a question in the back of my mind.
Yes, sir.
And I think you're the very person who can answer it.
I'll do my best.
In regard, and I'm not gonna go into the details of the lawsuit with the county versus the city, obviously, but in regard to the lawsuit that I keep getting served of, is that lawsuit filed against the city of Port St. Joe? Or is it filed against the city and then individual commissioners that sit here today?
Both.
So that is the case. The
And I'll let
county has decided.
I'll let Clint give his answer, then I'll be happy to give you mine from the county.
Well, I don't want to speak out of turn, but that's what I was being told. So the county, as the county commissioners, chose to sue the individual city commissioners over a land acquisition, voluntary land acquisition request.
Yeah, Commissioner, I'll be happy to. So it's a great question, and I think it's a very important one, and it's one that happened, this discussion that happened in the 90 days leading up to the filing of the suit. There is several counts, I think 7 or 8 counts, Commissioner.
9 counts.
9 counts from the county.
Yeah.
There's one count, that has to deal with that property issue, the annexation, okay? Whether it's valid, the voluntary annexation, or it's not. And that's really the issue that needs to be addressed between the county and the city, and the judge is gonna resolve that issue, and if it's not there, it goes to the appellate division, it just goes on. And I think you also know the property owner has been added to the suit now as well, Sarah Noah Group. The other counts are with regards to other issues, including due process, sunshine, public records. All those issues are germane to the one issue of the annexation. And so it's laid out in there, but to answer your question, it is individually against the commissioners, and it's laid out, and your attorney can lay it out for you more, but in short summary, the discussions that were had, the records that were produced, the public meetings that were not provided other than the minutes, there was a process from December of 2024 up until your adoption, and there was missing records, there's missing discussions, there's missing dialogue, and that all needs to be part of the substantial and competent record in which this city body adopts an annexation. And absent those things, under the law, it can't move forward. And so the annexation is one issue. The county's now saying, what are all the other issues that led to your decisions? They don't have a record. They only had 30 days. We asked in January, please pump the brakes. February, we came in and said, let's not do a conflict resolution. Let's have a workshop. We had a conflict resolution. We went to mediation, and repeatedly the county kept asking, please go back and do this right procedurally, and we can drop 8 of the 9 counts.
Yeah,
And then we can just deal with the issue.
To your argument.
Yeah.
My question was more simple, and it was just strictly, did the county commissioners of Gulf County
Have to. They have to. They are, yeah.
They didn't have to.
They absolutely did, yes.
They chose to individually sue the commissioners and the mayor of the city of Port St. Joe.
The only questions that can be asked of this city commissioners, each of you individually representing myself and all the other constituents of the city, is to sit there as an elected official and disclose your ex parte communications. So if any of you commissioners had discussions with someone outside this tribunal, then the county wants to know about them. The only way they're going to ask about them is to say, each of you commissioners under the statute, you're required to do X, Y, and Z. If you didn't do those things, you need to go back and do them right. And so it brings up my third thing I wanted to come to talk to you about today, Mayor, Commissioners, and I appreciate the opportunity to do
Well,
it.
I have one more question.
Okay, please, because I was going to ask you.
And I appreciate your
Yeah.
candidness in that answer.
Yes, sir.
The traffic issue, I agree. We have a traffic problem. And we have to look at many different ways that we can have a positive impact on slowing traffic down. So my question to you is, while I agree that additional houses in the city or the county of Gulf County, city of Port St. Joe, has an impact on traffic. So my question is, would an airport in Gulf County have an impact on traffic?
For you, as a resident of Palmetto Bluff, as a non-elected official?
Here, or vacation
If
here?
it's rhetorical, then but I'm not an elected official, so I don't really have an opinion on it.
I'm just asking you as a, person.
But I'd love to have lunch with you today as being my commissioner and talking to you about my feelings about it personally, but obviously my opinion doesn't matter at all from the city and the county's perspective in terms of traffic. And I'm only here as your county attorney today, but I'd love to sit with you, Commissioner, and tell you about it.
I think you answered
You
the
know.
question.
But if you don't have another one, I was leaving the county, they were still going, but I understand that the city sent a letter to the county. I haven't read it, but I called over to ask them to kind of give me an idea. You guys sent a letter, maybe hand delivered, what was it? They said it had something to do with an annexation. Was it the one we're working on or?
No, we had an additional voluntary request that we sent over today.
Okay. And it's for future meetings? Or you haven't had any hearings on it?
We haven't had that.
Okay, that helps me out. Last month, I also handed out to everyone here, an interlocal agreement 12 years ago. And in it, number 7, it indicated that the county and the city, prior to any public hearings, that there would be prior notice. I'm pleased, if I understand Jim correctly, that today you sent a letter, either hand delivered, notifying the county that you're going to have public hearings on a voluntary annexation. I think I understand that. You haven't had any yet. So the letter that's been sent from the city to the county actually complies with the interlocal from 12 years ago, which is fantastic, which is what we've been asking for since January up until I'm standing here today. And to go back to your comments earlier, Commissioner, all those counts in the litigation between the county and city, as the county attorney, go away. They're moved. They all go away if you all follow the agreements that you had, which is contractual statutory agreements with the county, that you would notice them prior to any public hearings, which didn't happen, unfortunately, with the first one. Right, wrong, or indifferent, what didn't happen. Today, I understand that you sent a letter complying with that 12-year-old interlocal agreement, which to me then obviously requires a judicial notice of the court to say the city understands and acknowledges that they have an obligation that they've met, I guess, today.
Let's don't try this.
No, we're not gonna try it.
Let's.
No, it's fine, Mayor, but when it goes back to the issue, which is, I guess you have another volunteer annexation now you're introducing to the county. And I'm assuming that that is gonna be coming up in the summertime, June, July, August?
July 15th,
Okay,
Tuesday.
fantastic, I appreciate that. It's my sincere hope, and I'll sit down, Mayor, is that the city will recognize even that letter that you sent, because I haven't read it yet, but you all acknowledge that the due process and the notice requirements weren't met. We can get rid of all of Commissioner Hoffman's concerns and just focus on the one issue between the county and the city, which is annexation. The sooner we get to that issue on the one that we're in court about and the one that Jim sent the county the letter on today can now be addressed. Unfortunately, Mayor Clint has a calendar that I'm not aware of. We're not going to get to this issue for months. And it's a waste of taxpayers' money. The sooner we can get to the annexation issue on the one that we're in court about, and the sooner that we can get to the one that Jim just noticed us about, would be a benefit to the entire county and the entire city. Let's get rid of the other 8, Commissioner, respectfully, and let's go back and do it right. And that's it. We have a hearing on Thursday.
Let me call you after this meeting and we can discuss.
I would love that. I'd love it. And then we can get down to the issue of annexation, which maybe not happen until Christmas. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. So, okay, CDC Brownfield request, Mr. Richard Henderson is here, representing the CDC. And,
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm trying to make this brief. As you know, we've been talking about, brownfield site designations for probably as far back as 2023. There's been a lot of information going back and forth. Efforts to comply with whatever the council has asked for. But ultimately, the CDC would like to take advantage of incentives that the Florida Brownfield Redevelopment Act allows as it relates to redevelopment in our community up there. And what you have before you is the 3 lots that the CDC owns. We'd like to have those designated. We would like to support to have those designated as a site, so we can move forward with those other incentives that come from the state and federal government to do what we need to do to help us reduce costs when it comes to development. I know you got it on for a discussion. I've read a lot of notes, I've read minutes, I've done a lot of research on this, and I also think you guys have discussed this before. I'm not sure what else we need to provide to get your support on this, but I'm asking for a decision today.
okay. Tim, comments on Brownfield issue? We do have some concerns, of course, and of course, once we do what you're asking us to do, practically anything we do is, we're liable, the city's liable for things. And so, Jim, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The only 2 Brownsfield lots that I know that are declared Brownsfield in the city are in the industrial district, and they're part of a mapping system and kept records with FDEP. With this request here, it's asking the city, I don't think the city has ever done this before. So I would suggest trying to look and see, if there's any, like we talked about earlier today, if there's any scientific evidence that shows that this is a Brownsfield, because the only 2 that I know of are through DEP.
And what, Clint can help us out on this also, Mr. Benderson, is, in your opinion, based on the statute, those lots fall under the Brownfield designation. What we look for normally is basically an opinion, which short of a legal opinion would be an opinion from a state recognized body that declares Brownfield. So has anybody been on those properties, done any kind of testing that shows and proves that, yes, they fall under that designation?
So, there's let's see how to say this. That's not required. It's not required to get the designation for us to seek the incentives that the state and federal government has for us. Once we get a designation, it allows me the opportunity to use resources to do a phase.
What is required to declare it Brownfield?
Perception.
Huh?
A perception, a lack of development. It's all written out in the statute. I'm sure Clint can tell you that also. So that's all that's required.
So anybody sitting up here can declare their property Brownfield?
Yes, it's their property. They can request.
And you request it to the city body?
Yes, and then
And frankly, you know, we don't want to get, we never have wanted to get in a way of development of any place. And I know you guys have been working on North St. Joe and we appreciate that. And we applaud you for it. But we up here, there's just things that we have to do and know before we can make an informed decision on those type of things. So I hope you understand.
I understand that. But again, we've been talking about this since May of 2023. You've had multiple presentations by various other organizations that have come to you, have given you guys presentations on this. Correct?
Where's the broad one, they want us to declare all North St. Joe brownfield, so,
But-
yeah,
but we're not
that's
there.
what started.
Right, but from that conversation, you guys said, hey, no, we're not gonna do that. If you have an individual property owner that requests that, you guys said you would support that. But you're not.
We said that every property owner that had to be notified that we were going to declare their property a brownfield. I believe that's what we.
Well, and what I said, and you're right, I agree with you. We have used this enough. I'm done with it. And I have said since day one that no, I will not support all of North St. Joe, because that was our first topic. And then I said, if people that have an individual parcel of land wanted to do it, then they can do the research, they can do the testing, and they can do the same thing the St. Joe Company did and the Railroad Company did many years ago. And they asked DEP for the designation. The city of St. Joe has never designated the two that we have now. And I'll tell you why I'm still a firm no, is because if you pick, like your group has bought, what, 3 lots?
Yes.
And now you want those particular lots designated Brownsfield. Well, that might help you with these incentives that you mentioned, getting the incentives from the state. But that doesn't help me if I own the lot right next to you. Okay, that's not gonna help me in any way. And what it's gonna do is now the people are gonna come by and see my lot if I put it up for sale. And now that all this testing's going on, they're pulling up soil and doing whatever you wanna do on your lot. It has a negative impact to the value of my lot.
I can appreciate your, interpretation of that, but once I get through this and I got new homes on those lots, will you still feel the same way?
Well, you never get there because I would fight you tooth and nail.
Well, you can't
to
stop.
designate your property. I'd be at this meeting telling these people, don't support that idea. It's gonna hurt us in the long run. I'm gonna deny you the ability to have a negative impact on the adjacent lot that I own.
And that negative impact is based on your opinion.
Absolutely. The same as perception of your lot that you want to designate a certain way. And let's be honest, what is the reason you want to go the route of Brownsfield? Is because of the incentives. You're going to be able to collect different monies from different sources and with the expectation that you develop that property.
No, not an expectation. This is money to mitigate any issues I have when I build. I can't just go lay a regular slab out there with the way the soil is. I'm gonna have to do more than average construction. Now, the city hasn't, or the CRA hasn't offered any help with that. So I gotta go get that money from somewhere else.
Well, what you would have to do, you would have to do the very thing I did 2 years ago. I went to the bank.
That's
I
you.
borrowed money, and I built a house.
Okay.
So it can be done. So, yeah, we just don't agree on
And that's
labeling
fine.
that property. My fear is labeling the property will hurt your neighbors, and they may not be interested at all. And the reason I feel that way is, one, I had property owners speak to me directly when the idea of doing the whole encompassing all of North St. Joe, and everybody really realized real quick, that was a terrible, terrible idea. And now you don't want to talk about it, but we did talk about it right here. So now it's changed to buy 3 lots and try and do the 3 lots. But I still think you're not thinking about the impact of the people that live surrounding those 3 lots.
I have to say something there. As the president of the PAC, we've had some of the same people that I didn't identify with your report has come to me and said, we want that investigation done. We want to make sure that that area is a brownfield site. So now do we have to go back and get a list of those people that says they want that, opposing the people that you said don't want it?
No, what I want you to do, instead of dividing the community over a small group that's gonna try and benefit from the 3 lots, I would recommend that if you want your lot to be Brownsfield, then apply through DEP, not the city of Port St. Joe. The same way the St. Joe Corporation did it years and years ago.
Well, my question then is this right now. I moved here in Port St. Joe in 1954. And from the history of where I know, especially around Bell Street area and the Sock area, which has been identified as the areas that was contaminated. And we have to go back maybe and dig up the record, but that's on record. The lawsuit that was filed from Avenue A, and even back across the railroad tracks, with Ben Crump came and they made a settlement on some of the property that was damaged with some of the sediments that came from the paper mill. Now, we still have a problem with the area sinking, and part of that sinking is because it is contaminated. So some of the people that live in those areas have come and said, we want something done. We would love to have that brownfield so we can get some incentive in order to do that. So now, do I need to go back to my community and says, I need signatures from everybody over here to say against or for?
No, I just answered that. I'm not saying, if you bring it to here, my answer is gonna be the same. My answer is gonna be, if you want your property designated Brownsfield, then apply through the state of Florida, which you can. It does, the statute does not say the city is the only one that can apply for it. So that's where I would be, is to say that we're not getting in the Brownsfield designation.
That's fine. I need to vote. That's all I'm asking for, yes or no, either way.
Yeah, I think probably you heard the answer. Well, I'm gonna let these guys talk, but we've always felt like, and I said it previously, you need a governmental agency or someone that's gonna test that property and say, this property is, and that, when you bring that to us, I think that solves a lot of the problem.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I respect your position. City Attorney, is that required? Is that the process?
It's not necessarily required under this process that you have. That's what they're required.
That, I just want to make that clear. So.
Okay, anybody else before we move on? Everybody good?
So I'm not gonna vote, yeah or nay?
Well, I can entertain a motion to approve a request for the 3 lots to be designated brownfield. No, it died for lack of a motion, so just come back to us with an updated version and we'd certainly consider it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, Public Works.
I'm good, man. Any questions for me?
You got any problems with any projects going on in the city?
There's always problems.
Okay. Any real problems?
No, none at all. We're just obviously Memorial Day weekend. We're trying to get them cleaned up and.
Gotcha.
Respect the crowds.
Yeah, understand. Okay, any questions for John? Okay, surface water, is a handout, from, Mr. McClammer. So, Larry?
Yeah, the motivator for this project is Apex Foundation Specialist. And I did do some checking on this, and one of the recent projects was with Bay County Building Department, and they informed me that the 2 projects they worked with them did pass inspections. So I would like your approval to accept the low bid of $42,585 by Apex Foundation. And this is a budget.
Very good, very good. That is RFP 2025-03, St. Joe Booster Station Building Repair. And Larry, I think, sent emails to all of us with the recommendations, I guess you could say, from other vendors that have used this, other municipalities use this vendor, whatever I'm trying to say. I'm having a hard time today. But anyway, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the low bid. Commissioner Kerrigan made the motion, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Lowry. Further discussion from the board. Anybody from the audience? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 4-0. Larry, let's get him going.
Yes, sir. The only other thing I have is, we did pass our, second quarter dispatch by part.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
That's great. All righty. All right, wastewater, Mr. Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. We are still holding 4.5 feet of freeboard in the lagoon today. We're starting to see more and more algae with the warmer weather, but we have those 3 diesel pumps out the lagoon to circulate and help break that up. We're running full speed, discharging every day, 7 days a week, and all of our solar equipment is fully operational right now.
Smoothing out a little bit.
Yes, sir, for now.
Okay, questions for Joe, wastewater? Okay, Mike?
Mayor, FEMA update, we did have a request from the consultant, for additional clarification on the expenses, which we responded to last week. So we're still in a holding pattern on the 800,000.
Every time you respond, they come send something back.
Yeah, I think that we're down to the nitty gritty, but
Yeah.
when somebody else looks at it, then something's changed, but I think it's still moving forward and also, we get that money back.
Thank you.
Everything else is the same. I don't have any other comments.
Okay. Mike? It shows you what the job they do to get our reimbursement on these grants, guys. It's pain, real pain. Anyway, okay, no questions for Mike. Code enforcement.
Yes, sir, Mayor. As indicated earlier, Chief Richards and I are working on, some of the smoke shops and trying to, put in place some future, ordinance that'll help regulate some of those areas in there. So hopefully we'll have that to you in the next meeting.
Okay, any questions? All righty, Chief?
I don't have anything. I think they pretty much covered all that I've had last couple. We're just gearing up for Memorial Day weekend and the beginning of our really busy season. So hopefully everything stays calm and collected, even though it's already hot.
A lot of people already in town.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, City Clerk, Ms. Pierce.
Yes, sir, we're working to get the Centennial Building and the Lighthouse Building grants closed out. Very laborious, but we are making progress on it. And on the Lighthouse Lynn's discussion, last month, United States Lighthouse Society held a board of directors meeting in Apalachicola. And they asked Linda Graham Wood and me to present how we move the lighthouse, information about it. Rear Admiral May was there, he's retired. He and a business associate of his have been very successful in getting the light itself put back in the tower. Montauk on Long Island, New York, as well as one in Washington State. They have offered to check into it to see if it's feasible, what it would cost. If we were successful, the light itself would still be on loan from the Coast Guard, but it would be a navigation that would be private, which would make the process much easier. They are willing to look at it, talk about it, help us. They've been successful with, I know one, if not both of them, were 3.5 bivalve lens. We just need to know what your thoughts are if you want to pursue it. But they're more than willing to help and give us some ideas what could be done and what it would cost to do it. But it would be something we could use, resume the flash that it had once before. And I don't remember if that was 19 or 20 seconds that it would rotate and you would see it. But the Coast Guard is more lax now on letting you put a lens back in the actual tower than they have ever been. So just need to know your wishes, please.
Comments?
Light it up.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Yeah.
And the issue of the lighthouse includes that lens. It needs to be in the lighthouse.
Yes, it's 1905 Fresnal.
Can you move forward, find out what it'll cost? I know there's only a few people in the whole country licensed to deal with those. I know we paid, I think $14,000 for somebody to come and take it out of the lighthouse, box it up, what have you, so.
They have someone they work with that does it much better rate.
Oh, better rate.
Yes, sir. They are licensed to do it, but we have an admiral. He knows, what to do, how to do it. just think it would be very special for our community to be able to relight it, because so many of us, when you go to Panama's Children, coming home, you got to Mexico Beach, saw the light, you knew you were almost home then.
Yes, I like that better than having to make a museum and people
Yes,
walk around.
But I will be happy to get back with him and tell him y'all would certainly like to check into it and start moving forward on it and see what we can do.
Absolutely, absolutely, sure.
Thank you for that, and we'll get to work on it.
Okay. Ms. Farmer.
Also, if you haven't checked your email today, please do so. Everyone that's required to file the Form 1, they are due by July 1, and all forms have to be filed electronically this year.
That's financial
Yes, sir.
state.
That's all I have, unless you have some questions.
Anybody? Nope.
Thank you.
Okay, citizens to be heard. Come right up.
I just want to ask Chief Jacob a question, because we have our events coming up for Juneteenth and July celebration. We have looked among our community and we found some our older gentlemen that, want to set up some kind of security, be responsible for our own action. And so I want to ask, Chief, if they have any vests that we can borrow from them, just so we can kind of wear around, make sure that we kind of police our own area. We realize that you're gonna ride through sometime on your own, but, we're trying to hold some accountability ourselves.
Yeah,
And so-
just a vest and security or something.
Just saying, hey, we're not asking them to be polices,
Right.
but we're asking them to help secure the area so we can keep down mess. There's a better word for it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to check with him to see if
I'd
I
have to look and see, but most of the stuff I've got says police officer on it, so.
Chester, how many security people?
talking about 4, 5. And what we talk with these gentlemen about, making sure that we act right ourselves. We sometimes have to be responsible for our.
Give me after the meeting.
Okay.
I'd be happy to donate the shirts. Tell me what to put on them.
Thank you. That's it.
Really appreciate Robert Branch, 35-year resident of St. Joe. If I, quiz y'all a minute, county lawyer, Mr. Novak, he was quoting the interlocal agreement I have here. And actually, I couldn't help but notice he went back to 2012, 13 years, 2013, when it was updated. And he quoted item number 7. Is that what y'all heard or did I hear things?
He talks so much, I don't.
Oh, okay, but if I'm not mistaken, he quoted item 7, which y'all, being I'm the fanatic of the Field of Dreams, item 7 is actually I'll read what he quoted, unless I heard wrong now, but that's the reason I'm asking. City and county shall continue to cooperate in the joint development sports complex located on 60 acres. And that's the only thing that hasn't been satisfied with that DRI development. And no, Back Beach Road is not gonna solve the problem. It looks like St. Joe just needs another road. Okay, so that's all I'll say for now. The main reason I'm here, Mr. Mayor, what's the protocol? If I need an officer, anybody in St. Joe, if I need to call an officer, if I got problems in the neighborhood, got problems, what's the protocol I'm supposed to go by? If I want to get an officer to respond?
Call the police department.
So call the police, what's that number?
I don't know.
So when I call the police department, who am I gonna get? Am I gonna get dispatch, Gulf County, am I gonna get?
Chief, explain how.
The number to the police department, 850-227-1414, is to the administrative office. If you want a police officer, you need to call 911 or the sheriff's office. If you call our office, Jennifer will send you over to dispatch, so you can get an officer dispatched to your location.
That's strange, Mr. Chief, and Mr. Mayor, I appreciate it, because I'm gonna go back to October 29th, and I'm gonna bring up, I told you I kind of, and please bear with me, give me a few extra seconds here. But the day of Miss McElroy's arrest, Reuben Joe Price, Gulf County employee, he actually had a direct line to him. In the written statement, I asked y'all to go back and watch the discovery, and I'm assuming none of y'all watched it because that's what I'm talking about now, and y'all look surprised. But
it was a direct statement to call him directly. So I called dispatch several months ago with a solicitor, good reason, and guess what I done? When I called, it went to the courthouse. 10 minutes later, 2 officers responded, 2 ICE officers, but this solicitor, somehow he slipped through the cracks. But his officer, being that county employee, called him directly at a direct line. Y'all need to watch this. It's 8 minutes into it. Guess what? Bear with me just 1 second. All right. 20 seconds later. 20 seconds later. Actually, one was staged under the water tower. Y'all need to watch this. Under the water tower on 10th Street. One was staged there when he turned his body cam on. I watched it 10 times. Guess where the other was? About the dog pound on both ends of 10th Street. Mr. Hopper, you should know, you was a wildlife officer for 30 years. You should know what I'm talking about. 20 seconds later, they met Reuben Joe Price at the walking trail. Get up there and point. There she is over there. But that don't match the body cam. There she is over there. Both of them are green. Is Sergeant Nichols. Yeah, there she is. But no, she wasn't there. She was 400 yards up the walking trail. Oh, there she goes there. Oh, okay, so let's get another statement. Okay, so I cleared that. But I called February. It took 2 minutes to arrest Miss McRoy and throw her into the police car. She never was detained. Mr. Hopper, you know the word detained as well.
It'd be hard to throw somebody in the police car if they're not detained. So that's.
Okay, but the report says, and I wasn't gonna bring this up, but his report says she was detained and arrested. Totally false. I wish y'all would watch it.
Okay, we're done with that.
Okay, no, Mr. Mayor, I've got.
We are done with it.
So,
You had your time.
okay, so y'all know, y'all might wanna watch it. There's the actual picture there. That's the video there.
We're done with all this.
I figured y'all be done.
French.
Appreciate it.
We're done with it. All righty, anybody, come on. He's already signed up, but Jim?
Yep, appreciate it. Jim Martin, live on the corner of 10th and Woodward. A lot of work being done there on the road, as you know. Expect everything. It's been a couple of months now that the approaches off of Woodward onto 10th have been gravel.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of months.
Those were, milled, those approaches were milled?
No, it's gravel.
Okay.
There's no pavement there, it's gravel.
Okay.
And also a block down, the same thing coming in on the 10th. As the traffic is on over it, it's gotten worse and worse and deteriorated, and the dips are getting worse and worse, and people are having to slow down. There's a lot of golf cart traffic on there, and those golf carts are just barely slowing down and creeping over the bumps. I don't know what the timing is to get that finished, but it's been a couple of months, and I would hope that it won't be much longer to get that paid.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
when they come back, my understanding is, they're, gonna finish up everything. Which there are tie-ins all over the city where they've done the same thing.
Yeah, when they come back?
I think 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay, in 2 weeks they're coming.
Finish, stripe, finish this project, get out of Dodge.
I'll appreciate it. So we're looking at probably a couple of weeks to get that finished.
They'll be back a couple of weeks, it'll take them maybe a week to, let's hope.
When they do that, they put the sod down along the edges. In some areas down on, the east side of 10th, they put a lot of sod all the way to where there's no bare grass, bare dirt over to the drainage. Down in my area, they only put a strip, well, they put 3 strips this wide. We have a considerable amount of bare dirt there, especially right at the intersection. And it's draining there and digging just deeper and deeper. And I asked and was told that they were going to only sod so far, and then they were going to spread seed and put straw down. But in the meantime, it's just washing down. It's going to have to be reshaped back up because it's just It just keeps washing down.
They'll be responsible for all that. I don't know what's specifically in the contract, but.
Well, I would think they're responsible. I'm just looking at timing because, you know, every time we have a big rain, it's just where the water comes down.
Right.
And, I doubt anybody's gonna reshape that.
Yeah.
Before they do anything. I would hope they would, but it doesn't appear they're going to.
Thank you, sir. We'll check in.
Yeah, and the one last thing I wanted to say, if I can, briefly, the parking lot that we just built down there by CVS.
Yes.
Okay, that parking lot was built because we need parking for city,
Right.
services, I mean, for retail service and everything. I'm fascinated that right after it was put into use, that they turned it into a construction parking lot. First of all, it damages it. Second of all, you got a safety issue because some people are trying to use it. And you got all these trucks coming and going out of there. It's not a safe deal. Why not just take that stuff and move it across the street over there in that big vacant lot diagonally to the northeast where staging has been done for I don't know how long, so that you don't keep damaging that. It's not gonna need repairing when you finish and you get rid of the safety issue because it's summer's coming up
I'll
and you're
get
gonna
him
need
looking
plastic.
with the contractor and see if we can do anything.
I mean,
We'll try.
summer's coming, you're gonna need the capacity.
I agree, and that's the folks that are doing downtown water line, only them that are doing downtown water, and they hope to get us being finished.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining them doing their job, but all I'm saying is,
I know.
just move.
Don't forget it every day. I do.
And then,
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, anybody else? Audience? Okay, discussion by commissioners. All right, Mr. Kerrigan was okay. Mr. Flower, good. Good. Commissioner.
I have two things. I had a call the other day. The question was, can the city, if it was the city to put the sign up, remember we used to have a sign coming into the city, Highland side, that showed the accolades of our different sports titles.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it was destroyed in one of the storms, but the question was, if that is a city sign, and I believe it was, I remember hearing about gathering the names and stuff. We need to replace the sign if it's a city sign. If not, then let me know and I'll tell the party that it's a county or a school board or whatever. But you know the sign I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. At all state champions.
I think the question came back years ago, we were looking at was how far back and how many was, but we've had so many accolades with the city of Port St. Joe and so many championships on there. Do you want to cover 3 years back?
Well, let's just start with go back to however we had the sign, because that decision, I guess, was made when they built that sign, the most recent sign. So whatever the findings was for that most recent sign, put the sign back up. The other idea is for John. And full disclosure, I live on 20th Street. Okay, so anybody is wondering, Scott trying to get his road paved. I didn't ask for Marvin for a long time, so I'm not asking to pave 20th Street. But will you ride down 20th Street and look at the intersections of Juniper, Forest Park, especially Forest Park, and then the next one, Cypress. Something is happening that's undermining the roads.
Stormwater has always been an issue there. That stormwater is about 12 foot deep.
It's
We've
got
had
bad.
worked on multiple times, but it's a stormwater issue.
Yeah, I would start at that Forest intersection because it's actually on both sides of the road.
Really good. I can get prices,
Yeah,
It's coming up budget.
we gotta do something. But if it's those three intersections, really need some attention. So let's try and, while we have some money for this asphalt paving, we might put that on this to consider spending some of that It's in bad shape. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, John, if you could, I understand what you're saying, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if you can identify, what needs to be done.
Yes.
And stuff, and maybe we can then work on cost, and then we can hand that over to our lobbyists and grant writers, so that they have what they need to go after, because there is some grants out there for stormwater management, so.
Okay.
As long as we have the ammo, I think we can put it in their hands to offset constituents.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
And, I'll encourage, all of us to, sit down with Clint and talk to him about, what the county attorney brought up today, what they'd like us to make a decision on. And Jim also, Jim's very familiar with that, agreement and so forth. So, we don't need just to knee-jerk reaction when somebody shows up.
Call them and figure out exactly, because I really don't understand what it's off.
No, he just.
So I'll call him and discuss it.
Yeah, and just encourage y'all to do that, because we don't have to give them an answer, but it seemed like they just really want an answer for some reason. And,
They want my answer, not when I finally figured out they're suing me as an individual.
I think we're even talking about two different things. You're talking about the.
It's all tied together in my mind.
yeah, I'm talking about the letter from the St. Joe.
Yeah, I really don't know what else we have to add to that.
So,
I don't understand what they're asking us.
Well, I do that, we
I'm gonna
need,
call him.
so at least we will have in our mind, we'll be ready for a vote at the next meeting, whether we want.
Are they specifically asking us, because it really wasn't clear in that letter, and it really wasn't clear what he said here today, that we're supposed to just stop issuing any permits. I mean, I have to ask him what they want necessarily. It's hard for me to go to you guys, well, this is what they want. He just says, enforce it. Well, what do you mean by enforce it? Are you saying just not issue any more permits only?
If you can get a specific answer from him, that would be wonderful. Yeah. Good luck. So, hope you will.
And I don't know if you've read the St. Joe copy, but.
Yeah, I read it.
I'm in agreement with them. I mean, in terms of who's in charge.
Yeah,
I think I can answer that question that you asked. What do they really want us to do? Well, I think it's pretty clear in my mind. There's three parties involved: city, county, corporation of St. Joe. And we're not in agreement as to something that many, many years ago. You have three groups, and the county wanted to interpret it a certain way. The St. Joe company responded and said, we do not agree with the county's interpretation of the agreement. The city does not have to do certain things. So there's the rub. The county wants the city to side with the county. That's what they're asking. To the two of the parties, the city and the county, would go and say to St. Joe Company, no, we don't agree with you. We're going to do it this way. That's what they want. They're not going to get support from me as long as they're suing me in the manner that the county commissioners have chose to do. So I hate to say it that way, but I think, fair is fair.
There's a lot I can say, but I won't say it like people, but and I'll say it only to Jim and Clint, but, anyway, I still encourage you to, once Clint talks to Jeremy, just find out exactly what he wants us to do. And so, but if it's in conflict with the property owner, then you gotta bring that one in. You got to. I mean, that's all. Are they gonna get involved? No matter what we do, they're gonna get involved. Okay, other thing is, 2 budgets ago, we wrote a assistant city clerk budget item. We tried a couple of times to do that. They've even, I think it's still ongoing advertisement, what have you. And we have to think about all these good folks that are still on our staff that could retire today if they wanted to with no experience backup. We got to think ahead. We've just got to start doing that. Mike's got maybe another year. Are you drop dead after 1 year?
June of 26, yes.
June 26, exactly. What hour? What time of day?
Maybe July 1st.
Okay.
I haven't got that, I'm not counting days. At 8:01.
Of 2026.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My thought process is this, and I would once again like y'all to talk to Jim about this. We're gonna need, that's a big position. We have nobody in training right now that would take that position in the city. We need to advertise for, lack of a better word, a CFO. And that person could mirror a clerk position, grants and that type thing, which does already, and what he does. And then we would, if Miss Charlotte and Mike both happen to want to quit at the same time, God forbid, but we've got somebody that's municipal, a little bit of municipal experience and you know, some accounting. We may even, you may even talk about a CPA, but it's, they walk away and we're gonna be in trouble. So, think about that. Talk to Jim, get his ideas of what he thinks that might work. Talk to other small communities, see what they do. We're pretty unique that we're growing so fast. A small community on the coast is growing so fast. We may not be able to talk to anybody, maybe Destin from 40 years ago, maybe, but anyway, I think that's all I've got. That's enough. And, let's, do our homework and be ready to, keep representing the city. So nothing else, we'll stand adjourned.